And there we go, desperately hoping that everything is working as it should do. Hello, everybody. How are we all doing? Let's make sure that this is the right microphone before anything else.
I think so. That'll do. Yeah, welcome to the stream. It's going to be a little bit of a weird one, right? Because England are soon to get started in their World Cup campaign, and that means that the entire country, or at least the English bit of the country, is going to firmly get behind a bunch of players that they spend a lot of the time otherwise being a little bit indifferent about, because let's be honest, around friendlies no one cares, around qualifiers no one cares, but now we're in the real heavy stuff, and the real heavy stuff is where a lot of the critiques will come in. A lot of individual tactical bits will be just jumped on. A lot of sort of the good, the bad, the ugly. We'll find out what sort of direction England are going to be going in effectively in the first match, but in no time at all. And my first immediate sort of concern was a very, very big tactical one. Because I think there is a fundamental flaw with England's current tactical setup, and it's based on the fact that one of our players is too good. And if you've seen the thumbnail, you're going to know which of the players I think it is. It's that one. It's Harold Kane. Um, because of a few reasons. The first of them being, in fact, I'm going to start by setting out how we sort of tactically play with him in the system, because it doesn't really make sense if we don't cover that bit first, because that's sort of what this entire thing is sort of orbiting around. England with Harry Kane in the side need to understand that Harry Kane isn't a number 9. And a lot of people will look at what I've just said there and go, you're a moron. Harry Kane is obviously a number 9. He is the best number 9. And that's true, but part of that is because he doesn't purely play as the 9. He floats around a lot. You'll see him dropping as far back as the back line to pick up the ball, recycling it. The sheer range of his passing, by the way, is absolutely ridiculous. The guy is more than just a finisher. The guy will do everything all over the pitch at all times, which means that, of course, when other teams are trying to deal with him, it's incredibly difficult. Another team will see Harry Kane and maybe go, right, okay, so typically a centre back deals with a number 9. Okay, sure, but your centre back can't deal with the number 9 when Harry Kane's dropped all the way into our back line. So in that case, you've either got your defender has to chase him all the way up the pitch and all the way back, which means that your defensive structure is completely knacked. Or when he drops into the midfield, you're kind of thinking, right, what are we going to do in terms of midfielders here? Are we going to add another player into the midfield to make sure that that's not a problem, but then your attack doesn't have as many players behind it? What's going on with your defensive structure? Because Harry Kane is everywhere at all times, all at once, and you can tell that it's worked because he has been a ridiculous player for Bayern Munich. I think he's got something like 60 goals this past year, or something nuts like that. And defensively, he is a fantastic addition as well. Defensively, Harry Kane will go all the way back in, do a lot of the defensive work, and you can leave your pacier players like your wingers, like a Saka, like a Gordon, like a Madueke, higher up the pitch, able to exploit the spaces, and then Kane will just catch up when we're doing the transitional stuff. That means that you've got your threats higher up still, but also you've got that sort of leadership presence a little bit further back, able to play in the orbit of the entire rest of the side, which makes a hell of a lot of sense, and I'm a very, 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 very big fan of it. However, this is where the sort of tactical weakness needs to come in, because whilst it is all well and good having a player that everything orbits around, whilst that is fine and dandy and good, if he's always on the pitch, that isn't strictly always going to be the case. Because the issue that you bump into, if I have a very, very quick Google just to sort of make sure that my point is correct, Harry Kane isn't a spring chicken anymore. Harry Kane is currently 32 years old, which a lot of people will look at and go, it's fairly young. He's a young guy. He's only 4 years older than me. Hello, Machina Joe. The issue with relying so heavily on Harry Kane is that he's a 32-year-old, which means that gradually he's going to lose the physical side of his game. And sure, he's not that reliant on the physical side of his game so far. He's not the kind of player that you're saying you need to win every aerial duel. You need to ride every tackle, you need to be sprinting everywhere at all times. Whilst that's true, he's still in a position where he's doing a lot of the defensive work, so that means he has to track all the way back. Then he's got to go all the way forward again, and back and forward. And if you get to the final of the World Cup, you've played 3 group stage games. You've played the round of 32, the round of 16, quarter-final, semi-final, final. In the space of month and a half, give or take. That's a couple of matches a week. Which is, sure, if you're in the championship and not playing the most intensive stuff and you've got relatively little pressure on you, fine, that's easily enough dealt with. But the reality of the situation is that's not always what happens. Because what has a tendency to happen instead is you're going to play the same players time and time and time and time and time again. Yes, it is next Wednesday. Sorry, I hadn't quite caught up with that. The first match is tonight. Opening ceremony is on ITV at 6:15. The first match is I'm just going to check on the wall chart. Because I think it's 8. Yeah. First match is an 8 o'clock kickoff. Which I'm very much looking forward to, by the way. Mexico, South Africa is going to be a vibe. But the moment you put that many minutes into Harry Kane's legs, you're saying there is a risk that you're not going to be able to play further down the line. And of course, there is a chance that, and I'm just going to check the order of our group stage matches, there is a chance that we play against Croatia and we win. Brilliant, wonderful. Let's be honest, 3 points most of the time is going to get you out of the group. 4 points is almost certain. But then you look at Ghana and you say, okay, cool, assume we beat Ghana. At that point, you can probably rest Kane against Panama, but we need to come top of this group. Because our side of the draw isn't the kindest. Let's be completely clear here. I'm going to get to my predictor, actually. FIFA World Cup predictor bracket challenge. There we go. And I'm just going to see how I've got it set up. Because I've got it going in a certain direction, and I think it's quite fun and interesting. This might break. Oh, it broke. It very broke. Hello, I'm over here. Right. Okay, I'm going to put me there. Display 2. Where have you gone? Properties. Is it the Asus or is it the other one? Yes! There we go. Okay, done. Cool. Sorry, I got a new PC earlier today, which means that everything is just all over the place right now. Squeeze you in there. That'll do. Nice. Bosh. Cool. And everything is visible. Nice. Right, so this is my sort of stab in the dark at the bracket challenge thing that FIFA have done for the World Cup. And I don't think I'm too bad on some of the predictions. I just need to make everything fit a little bit more. Why is that not 16-9? Yes, it is. I was just being stupid. But if you have a look at our side of the draw, which is going to be the bottom half of the draw, assuming we win the group. And assuming we win the group, we've got Brazil on our side, but we wouldn't have to meet them until the quarterfinals. We've also got Norway on our side, but that's not really a problem. Korea, Cote d'Ivoire shouldn't be an issue. Democratic Republic of Congo is the team that we would play in the round of 16, which again isn't the biggest of concerns. On the other side, it gets a little bit tricky. You got Portugal down here, you got Argentina down here. But the side of the group that we don't want to end up on here, the side of the group that is genuinely a little bit terrifying and could lead to us just being battered out of the tournament very, very early, is if we come second. Because if we come second, I've predicted Ghana to be second in our group, because I think that probably does happen. Ghana are a pretty good side. They get Uzbekistan in the round of 32. Fantastic, cool. You get to the round of 16 nice and neatly. The round of 16, you get Spain. And I would say they are probably the strongest side in the tournament. On the other side of that, you've got Germany hanging out over here. You've got France hanging out down here. Mexico shouldn't be too much of a problem. I think Japan are going to dark horse it. I've got Japan upsetting France in the quarterfinals, which could be a little bit of a wild one, but I think that could genuinely be the case. But all of this to say that the side of the group that we cannot end up on is this one. This is the spookier side of the draw. Because our side, I think, will be completely fine if we win the group. Win the group, then you get to play against Democratic Republic of Congo, lovely. You get to play against Korea or Cote d'Ivoire, lovely. Brilliant. Good stuff. Quarterfinal, tricky. Quarterfinals are obviously going to be fairly tricky. It's going to be one of Brazil or Norway, but Brazil, I think, have a very, very beatable side. They're one of those sides that tend to be more emotional when it comes to the World Cup rather than rational, and I think in a World Cup you need that rationality going on. Down here, I prefer not to think about, because this quarter-final would go insane. I think having Argentina versus Portugal in a quarter-final is FIFA's wet dream. Let's be completely honest here, this is what they are absolutely hopeful for. If they get Messi versus Ronaldo in their final World Cup, they're going to be spunking money for days. And then no matter what, you've got a fairly tricky semi-final. We know that this is going to be the case, and then you get whoever you get in the final. But I think this bottom side of the bracket is where we need to be. And I think it's where we will be if we are able to deal with the Kane problem. The only issue with the Kane problem is that behind Harry Kane, your sort of level of player that can do the same thing is non-existent. So you take out Harry Kane, brilliant. You got Ivan Toney. Ivan Toney has been hanging out in the Saudi League for God knows how long. For it might have been 18 months or something like that. I don't know, 2 years. I don't keep track of the Saudi League because the Saudi League is not a good league in terms of the average standard. You're talking like EFL Championship level for the average player. So that puts you in the position of someone that has been banging goals in, fair enough, in a poor league as your alternative to Kane, and he doesn't do the defensive side of the work either. That's part of the reason that a lot of sort of Premier League sides, when he was looking for his move, didn't jump at it. There's a reason that Arsenal didn't go, yeah, fine, we'll go for you, because Arsenal need defensive work rate, and I don't think you get that out of Ivan Toney. You don't get the build-up play out of Ivan Toney either. And then you got Ollie Watkins, who, sure, is happy to do the more energetic running stuff, but he's got less of a quality about him. His finishing isn't as good as Ivan Toney, his build-up isn't as good as Harry Kane. So it feels like regardless of what you're doing, you're making things incredibly tough for yourself the moment you go beyond Harry Kane in that squad. And I hope it's something that we've got a tactical idea in place for. I hope we adjust things fairly significantly when Harry Kane leaves the pitch, because that tactical structure is going to change rapidly. Ultimately, I think we can make a deep, deep run in the tournament. And I feel like potentially winning it isn't off the cards. But I think we need to do it right. We need to get a little bit lucky, and hopefully it all works out for us in the end. This has only been a short stream because I am very much looking forward to absolutely everything surrounding the World Cup, but I'll be hopping on a big up with Jer in a little bit's time. That should be absolutely spectacular. To cover Mexico versus South Africa, which is a throwback to the 2010 opener, where the two sides played each other to a 1-1 draw. Hopefully it's not the same this time. And hopefully there are goal scorers with names as fun to say as Shabalala, but it doesn't feel like that's necessarily going to be the case. This has only been my key light working, because I know that this side of my face is more in shadow than this side of my face, but I can't deal with that because everything's knacked at the minute. Toodaloo. Oh, even that's the wrong size. Hang on. There we go. Ta-ra.